Okay, ladies, so I just want to thank you all for being here. Jade and I are very excited to have you. And I just want to say that obviously a seat at the table dinner was inspired by Solange's third studio album, which embodied what it means to be a self-possessed Black woman, fully aware of her value, her community's value, and their robust contributions to this world. And as the current social and political climate attempt to challenge those notions, our commitment to not only ourselves, but our community must deepen. And a seat at the table dinner is an opportunity for us to connect, organize, and pour into each other in a space that is designated and designed for us, by us. So I want to thank you all again for being here. And I want to thank Crown Royal for helping make this possible. And I also want to introduce you all to Rashida Still, who manages strategic partnerships and events for the parent company of Crown, Diageo. Rashida.
Hi, ladies. How's it going?
Hey.
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 Yeah, I'm totally gonna keep my brand speaking points super short, because it really is more about the ladies in this space. But Crown Royal was a natural fit for not only this event, but also I think both Jade and Antoinette as a brand that really seeks to drive purpose and generosity. So our brand purpose motto is live generously and life will treat you royally. And that really is everything you do every day with everyone. So I just encourage you guys to kind of take that away. It's been very challenging times lately, a lot going on in the world. But I think as you continue to wake up every day with that intentionality to do good, and as we say, live generously, life will reward you with that royal, status and lifestyle and all the great success I know you guys are deserving of. So thank you so much for having us this evening. Again, super excited for the conversations that will come. Again, safe space, as Jade mentioned earlier. I'm very excited for these cocktails. I have my own already, but we'll get to that part very soon. And yeah, it's a pleasure to meet all of you virtually and hopefully in person sometime soon.
Yes, thank you, Rashida, very much. I also want to just go over the contents that you have received or will be receiving shortly. So the cocktail items, you'll be able to make 3 different cocktails from the items in the cocktail boxes, generously provided again by Crown Royal. And then we have our African Trip dinner by Chef Bintu that was powered by Crown Royal. And we also have some Love Lavender shea butter that is all natural shea butter. It actually has a little bit of shimmer to it, and it's made with some sort of particle from the sea. So it's not even glitter. It's like some real natural fancy stuff. And that was donated by a young Black entrepreneur by the name of Taylor Young. And then we have our gold-filled Black Power Fist necklace with personalized initial pendants for everyone, which was given to us by Arianche Jewelry, which we actually have the founder and designer of Arianche Jewelry on the call. Angie, say hello, wave.
Hi.
So thank you so much for that, Angie.
Of course, my pleasure.
And then I just want to intro everyone because I don't want it to feel performative. I want it to be, Jade and I really wanted to just be like, this is us hanging out in the 2020 dinner virtually due to the pandemic. But I just want to make sure that everybody knows who everyone is on the call. And so I'm just going to run through quickly. And I just want to emphasize that these titles that we have, they do not basically, titles are very interesting to me because I feel like people give their title based off of, trying to get a certain amount of respect and value from their title, but like everyone deserves a seat at this table, regardless of what their titles are. So while I will say your title just for context, it is truly for context. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know Vanessa Libra, she just, she gets all deep with it. And
I'm just saying, because I hate people like, what do you do? It's like, why is that the first thing that you ask me? How am I? How's my heart? Anyway, so first up, and this is in no order, Renee Blewett, who is the creative and executive producer of the film She Did That, that documents and celebrates the journeys of Black women entrepreneurs. That's currently on Netflix, so make sure you check that out. And she is also the founder of In Her Shoes blog. So Renee, can you wave to the people?
Hi, good evening, ladies. Happy to be here.
Yes. And then I'm happy to have you. And also Renee is like my big sister. I have like been bothering her lately, and I so appreciate you for just shepherding me and bringing me under your wing. Also, we have Gia Lowe, who is the marketing strategist and co-founder of Curl Fest and the Curly Girl Collective. Gia, say hi.
Hey y'all. Hey family.
Hey, Gia.
And then we have Nana Oheni, who is the founder and head designer of I Am Eureka. Okay, if anybody saw my headpiece from Afropunk a couple years ago, that was the flower headpiece. This sis designed and made that. She has her own clothing line, and she is also one half of Workday Podcast. She is an amazing being, and I love her. Nana, please say hello.
Hey, good evening. I'm so excited to be here.
She is a social worker by day and founder and owner and head designer of Ariane's Jewelry, my girlfriend and sister, Miss Angela Arias.
Hi.
And then most of us probably know this one, digital content creator, writer, producer, and host of Real Quick with Danielle Young, Miss Danielle Young.
Yes, boo.
Yeah.
Danielle be talking with everybody every day.
Everybody, I'm like, huh? She talking to Barack today? Oh, okay.
Right.
It's coming. It's coming.
We have media. I have been trying to get this girl to share space with me for so long. I'm so happy that she is here. I stalk her on Instagram, Miss Unique Holder, Mrs. Excuse me.
Mrs. Yannick.
Mistress.
Yeah.
Power Patch.
I'm so happy that y'all invited me to this one, and I'm so excited to connect with you finally. I call you Tony in my head. I don't know if people call you Tony in real life.
No, but you can.
You already know what it is, and I know a lot of you here, but all who I don't know, hi, I'm Unique. Nice to meet you guys.
Hi.
We have TG and Digital Global Executive Producer, Miss Layla Rosario.
Yes. Layla's my boo. We met in the advertising industry.
Jade, I have such a huge space in my heart for you. And I just want to say thank you all for allowing me to be part of this intimate space tonight. And I'm so excited. I've been looking forward to it this entire week, like a giddy, just girl, just ready to be part of it. So thank you again.
So next we have Miss Mary Akpa, who is a musician and co-founder of the Niger Girl Tribe, an organization out in Nigeria. Mary, say hello to the people.
Hello, everyone. I feel so honored to be here too. So thank you so much for inviting me, Jade and Antoinette. This is beautiful.
Beautiful songbird, gorgeous being, fairy all around. And then next, my other fairy, also an energy worker, if you are in that realm, and an actress as well on some very notable things. We have Miss Jasmine Walker. Jasmine, if you would like to say hello.
Hello, all. I am humbled to be here. Thank you for your beauties. I can't wait. I can't wait to get in.
And last but not least, one of my favorite DJs in the entire world. She was one of the 4 DJs for Stevie Wonder's birthday, co-founder of Makosa, and also urban planner by day, Miss Tara Duvier.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, vibes.
I'm happy to be here. This is great. We were in real life, like this would have been a perfect Friday night for me. So thank you.
Same.
It's still a perfect Friday night, but.
But we're happy to have you all. Thank you all so much for coming. Antoinette, would you like to introduce yourself?
I am Antoinette in the social media world. I am one half of Around the Way Curls, which is a podcast now. It started out as a hair blog, but we shifted very quickly away from that because there's just so much more to talk about and discover in this world. And our podcast revolves around duality being a thing, because we are not a monolith. So that's who I am.
Yes.
Jade, who are you?
I am a chef, cocktail curator, content creator. I just talk shit on the internet. That's pretty much what I do. Not like in a nasty way, I don't think. So that's
important.
one half of Getting Grown podcast, one half of Jaden XD, and one half of For the Culture Catering, as well as me, with Jade of
And
all
of Jade of all Jades.
all of
Right.
Jade's, honey. But we are really, really happy to have you all here with us. We're very grateful that you took time out of your schedules and that you come to have this conversation with us. We came up with a couple of questions, but we really want this to be very free flowing. We want you all to just really speak from your hearts, and we want this to be a safe space where we all come together and discuss things that matter. So before we can start a toast, I think we should make a cocktail. What do you all say?
Yeah.
We don't already have, because some of y'all was thirsty. Right. Jasmine. So I did 3 cocktails using one with Crown Apple, some with Crown Regal, and that's for you all. And we have all the ingredients here, powered by Crown Royal, of course. All of the ingredients for you all to make a play on a sangria. That's the one with the vermouth. We also modeled them after salon songs, obviously, because of the theme, because of the seat at the table theme. So we wanted to pay homage. So we have our Fubu, which is modeled after kind of a rum punch, but I did it with Crown Royal. So we have a Crown Punch. Yeah. And then we have our Almeida, which is a sangria. Our vermouth would serve as our wine. And then we have our Stay Flow, which is more in the fall, spirit. So I wanted to give you all some recipes to use, if you, with your bottles, with your alcohol, with your spirits that you have there with you. But in the meantime, you have all these delicious ingredients in front of you. I'm going to make the Almeida. That's what we're going to do now. But you all take a look at your boxes. We have them right there and there with the recipes, with the ingredients, and take a look and see what appeals to your personal taste buds. And I think it would be fun for us to have a little mixology.
Jay, can you take us through one?
Yeah.
Cause
I'll do this.
I'll just drink it straight. Like
it sounds like a little sangria type of night.
I think I'm gonna make the sangria. So I'm gonna use the Crown Apple Regal. We're gonna do about 1.5 ounces of that, which you can do a 4 count. So yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bang. Okay. And a little splash more if you're about that life.
I'm about that life.
My count was like 8.
Yeah, I think mine was like 6. So now I'm gonna add a little bit of sweet vermouth.
Oh, I love sweet vermouth.
I do too. So I'm gonna do about 1/2 ounce of that.
How much? Show us what a half a girl.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right.
What count?
2 count. Do a 2 count.
I'm literally gonna take a sip every time you put a new ingredient in.
a two count of the what now?
Of the sweet vermouth.
Oh.
But if none of these appeal to your taste buds, you see how we have a plethora of ingredients there for you to play around with. We want a plethora, honey. So now we're gonna work with our simple syrup.
Love that.
And if you want to add a hint of orange, you can swap that out for the triple sec. So either one will work. You can do your simple or your triple sec.
Or
you want to do a citrus, just a little quick citrus, you can do that, but they're both sweet. So I'm going to do a little bit of both actually.
Oh, that's super.
Splash.
Oh, we got to open it.
Yeah, open your And I'm gonna do a splash of my simple.
Oh, that's a splash? Okay, girl.
I was like, that was not my splash.
It's your splash.
That's not splash in my world, but okay.
That's a
splash, my triple sec. And we're gonna do a 1/2 ounce of lemon juice. So you can do fresh lemon, you can do your bottled lemon. I'll do this because it's easier right now. So I'm gonna do a 2 count there. If you want to add a little bit more citrus, you can do another one. Okay. And then we're going to add
I missed something. What was before the simple syrup?
Sweet vermouth. The vermouth.
It was a citrus after the vermouth.
Oh, I said you can do a splash of triple sec if you want to.
Triple sec. Thank you.
You can do a little, we're just making us a little sangria-ish.
Okay, got it.
What you doing?
So I'm gonna do a little 2 count of orange juice just to give it a little fruit, just to give it a little juice. And then lastly, for all my Caribbean ladies, especially, some bitters. Some bitters, we must. And you can do like 2-3 splashes. I like a lot of bitters. That's just my personal preference.
Yeah, your setup is all cute.
That's just because I just, you know. And you know what? I'm gonna add a splash of pineapple juice. It's not on there, but I want it. So I'm gonna Antoinette.
I'm sorry, I forgot I was on camera.
Just say this was a safe space. It's fine. I'm gonna add a splash of pineapple juice because I think it'll just be nice. It's not on the card, but I'm throwing it in there.
Okay, Gia.
How much of the bitters did you?
No, Gia got the whole setup.
No, that's what I said. I'm like, Gia, you are out here.
I live in Brooklyn. I ain't got that kind of stuff.
What did I
catch up?
You could do like
How much of the bitters?
Just do like 3-4 splashes.
Okay.
Okay. And I just topped mine off with a little pineapple. I topped it with a little pineapple.
Same, yeah.
Okay. And that's it. I'm gonna put my top on.
I was about to say, you gonna put some fruit in it or something?
Yes, we gave you some fruit for garnish, honey. We can put a little slice of orange. I'm not, because I'm about to just drink this down right now. This is why I like to keep old jelly jars, mason jars in the house, things like that. They are perfect for making your own personal cocktail. Renee, I knew I liked your spirit.
We have to toast. Don't drink yet.
Don't drink yet. We're gonna have a toast.
Yay.
We're gonna let Gia finish her cocktail. Who else is still making cocktails?
Yeah.
We are very grateful to Crown Royal for providing us with these. Look, you all got cocktails. You got all these little personal goodies to make you cocktails for the next, depending
on. For the next day.
Not a week.
It might be tonight. I don't know.
So that's what I'm toasting to, honey.
This is so cute.
Jay, get deep on this. Lead us in a toast. Come on, sis.
All right, let me get my Antoinette on. Where's my dog?
I hate you.
Okay. Wait, we're waiting on everybody else to make sure they have their cocktails.
Right.
Gia's over. Look at Gia. It's cocktails. Gia.
I'm ready.
You ready? Okay. All right. I am very, very, very happy to be in a space with all of you beautiful Black women, women of the diaspora. It is just amazing to be in a safe space with people with such pure spirits, while the world is a dumpster fire. And hopefully we'll be celebrating tonight because that motherfucker's about to be gone. And I know nobody in here supports that. So that's about as deep as introspective as you're gonna get from your girl. I'm just really happy to be in a world where we know what time it is and we have a little bit of hope. Yeah, I don't know. Let's cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you all for coming to a seat at the table.
Oh, this is just
this is good.
That is good. Ooh.
This is delicious.
Really good.
Yes.
I didn't know I had it in me.
Right?
I didn't know.
By day.
Ooh.
Thank you.
So good.
I'm Royal for our delicious.
Yeah, that really is good.
Yeah.
It's like I'm a bartender.
Yeah.
First time mixing a drink, so.
Oh, yay.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah, outside of like tequila and some margarita.
Like, pouring it in. Like, I don't have
So for me, this is a treat. First time.
Now we got bitters on hand.
I know.
Show off during the holidays.
A whole bar.
Bars, honey.
Bitters will last you too.
Bars.
Those are good if your stomach's not feeling well.
Also, yes.
Yeah, with some seltzer.
Seltzer, yep.
The bar is trust all Caribbean people with remedies.
Absolutely.
As you should.
Africans.
I was about to say, don't forget about us.
That's right. Diaspora.
Yeah, people just, yeah. Okay. So since folks are comfortable eating on camera, which we're just a couple of girls at dinner, I think that tonight is going to be a conversation around protection, right? So together, I think that it'll be really great for us to define what protection is and figure out and pinpoint the ways in which we can encourage, foster, and provide protection for one another, right? So I guess where I start, or where I'd like to start is by asking you ladies, do you feel protected? Right, and if so, or if not, why or why not? So I think the best way to facilitate this conversation, just because there's a bunch of us on Zoom and Zoom gets wonky when everybody's talking at once, is Jade and I will throw it to folks. And then, if you have something you want to add, feel free to add, maybe just gesture so folks know that you're coming in next. But Mary, we kind of wanted to throw it to you first just to see what your thoughts are on that. And anybody feel free to chime in, but let's first establish how we feel and then figure out where we go from there. So do you feel protected? Why or why not?
I'm just gonna take a sip of this drink first.
Sure.
Girl. Cheers.
Liquid courage, no. Do I feel protected? Spiritually, yes. Spiritually, yes, because I'm going to put a pin in spiritually, yes, and say overall, no. Not externally. I feel like I'm protected because I've become resilient enough to know that having a particular type of community around me gives me a certain type of protection. And so even within me being protected, it's a protection that I've had to create on my own because I'm a Black woman and usually no one cares to protect me. So then within that, where I feel most protected is in those communities of mostly Black women who choose to see me and choose to make space for me and to hold space for me. And I have to say that also includes very few Black men that also are chosen, that choose to see me and choose to kind of move differently than what's expected from the traditional man that buys into the patriarchy. I don't know how else to say that. Does that answer the question?
Yes, we wanted to know if you felt protected in this world, and that's broad. We know that it's broad, and that's on purpose because we want everybody to speak for yourselves. We really want to know how you feel with the current political climate. With we have fractured relationships between. We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a moment. But okay, let's go to somebody else. Layla, do you feel protected in this world? Why or why not?
Man, you caught me mid-bite. Sorry.
Okay, sorry. We can throw it to somebody else too, Chuck.
Let me just thank you very much.
Please, of course.
Food is delicious. Excuse me. I love what you said, Mary, about spiritually feeling connected, protected. That hits home for me, and I want to talk about home first before I talk about the outside world. It's a yes and no for me. Yes, I feel protected at home. I'm thankful to have a family who we love each other and we support each other. Family is not just my blood, but the family of my sisterhood and my sisters around me, that I'm able to be vulnerable and cry. I'm able to be soft when the world needs for me to be hard and needs for me to stand up straight and have a strong spine. And when I need to bend that spine, I know that I have that network around me of people that I can go to. And I'm very fortunate for that. And that's globally, friends and family all around the world. Speaking of the world, walking into the world and walking outside and being a person that I identify as many things and working in a corporate space, and also just in society in general, I do not feel safe. I know that after a certain time, I can't be out alone. I know that if I'm traveling to certain countries, I have to protect myself and be self-aware of certain things that could honestly cause attention to me, even if I don't necessarily feel that I'm out of place, so to speak. And then also too, just from a communication standpoint, in terms of how people speak to me or speak at me, I don't necessarily feel safe. And given the fact that we are in the times that we are in, and also to the economy is down, and also to COVID, there's an I want to say an enhanced tension that's going around that it feels too familiar to things of even just like my own personal past and my own personal upbringing of like traumatic experiences and domestic abuse. And that triggers things for me in society and for who I am when I walk out into the world and who I have to be professionally as well. I see those microaggressions happening even in a workforce and work field where it's hard to have to fight for the team and fight for myself and still maintain a job and still have to be professional without showing an older version of me that is from the Bronx and showing an older version of me that's like, I need to pull this out. So it's a yes and no, mostly no in a day-to-day. I know when I walk out of my door, the home that I leave and the safe space that I leave, I walk out to the unknown. And that unknown means that I have to be ready. I have to be ready to survive, and I have to be prepared to defend in any way possible.
Wow. Anyone else want to share? Go ahead.
Do.
Yeah.
I also love what you said about spiritually safe, because I wasn't even considering that. But I was thinking when you were asking the question about like when I leave the house, and you know, I'm a plus size body, and I'm also aware, hyper aware of my curves and how my body moves, even when I'm just trying to go from point A to point B. But I live next door to a barber shop in Flatbush. And so I always have anxiety leaving my apartment. And I love my apartment. I love my neighborhood. But it's just the comments or the eyes, or, you know, even when I'm taking walks around, there's always commentary about my body, no matter where I am. And it's to the point, like sometimes I take walks with my neighbor, and she like on the way back, she goes, "Do you deal with this like every day?" And I was like, "Girl, every day." Like even walking past, some dude goes, "Yeah, big girl, I see you." And I'm just like, you know what I mean? And at one point, I was at the grocery store on the corner, and this man comes into the store, and he's screaming, "Black Lives Matter. They don't support Black Lives Matter. Don't shop here. They don't support Black Lives Matter." And it's a Dominican market. And I looked up, and I just kept on my way. And he was like, "And look at her with her fat ass. She don't need to be buying no food, da 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 da, this, that, and the third." And I was just standing there like, oh my God. And he was getting closer, and like, I'm looking around, and nobody's saying anything. Nobody's doing anything. I would like to believe that if there was a Black woman in the store, she probably would have, you know, said something to at least me. But there wasn't. And so it made me feel just so terrible, because I was actually scared to leave the store. And a similar situation happened on the train. Like a dude followed me off, and I had luckily there was a conductor in the booth, but called the cops. The cops took an hour almost to get there. And I was scared to actually leave the subway station. And then when they got there, there was nothing they could actually do, you know, and hence the conversations around abolish, you know, police and defund, because you're sending people to a situation where there's literally nothing that they could have done. There was nothing that they did to make me feel safe or validated or anything. They actually made me feel a little stupid for still staying down there. But I was just like, wow, like, so we really just be out here. And I've lived in New York for 14 years. I've never felt unsafe. I've had friends be robbed and things like that, but I've never felt unsafe. Even when I have those moments, but it's something it gives me a lot of anxiety. I carry around a lot of anxiety based on people's like, the interactions that are like that are violent, like that, or even casual, even when they mean no harm.
That's we deal with on it. How we deal with it over here on a daily basis. I was on the phone with Tristan one day. Tristan is my husband, everybody, and I was on the phone with him one day because I take my daughter to school in the park right now during COVID, and then that's my walk back time. No less than 20 men a day, probably construction workers, cab drivers. They'll stop in the middle of the street. But I also that is not okay, and that's what we deal with from women. But I do love what Mary brought out earlier from a spiritual aspect, and feeling spiritually safe and not feeling spiritually safe. I know sometimes it's been a bit difficult to share some of the ways that I feel with my family as opposed to some of the family that I've created. And that's kind of created an unsafe environment because it's tons of not just judgment, but it's like damnation. And how do you feel when you're sharing something that means so much to you with your family and they're telling you that you're not going to live, or you can go to hell, or whatever it is that they tell you? That's an unsafe space too that I don't think a lot of us think about. Jasmine, I know you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback on you and Mary with the spiritually safe for one, of course, because we're the fairies. Safe and protected. Do I feel protected? Yes. Spiritually, always. And mainly, I think I say that because, especially now, spirit is rocking always with me. Like, there's not a moment that I don't feel spirit. So there's not a moment that my soul doesn't feel like something's in front of me, making sure that even if my physicality is not okay, my soul is okay regardless. And for that, I feel protected. For that, I feel safe. Protected for me and safe are two different things. So, but because I feel so spiritually shorn up, then yes, I do feel protected. If we're talking 3D physical protection, sometimes, yes, same thing. My tribe protects me. My family protects me, which is very much a part of that tribe. But at the same time, I have found myself, I think the more I'm able to dial into the spiritual, soulful protection, the less I'm worried about the 3D physical protection. Like, I don't, for some reason, and it's not that I don't want to be protected. It's not that I don't want to feel safe. It just, if it's not there, I'm still okay with that. Even when, like Danielle, you were talking about like the anxiety, like that, like feeling that comes up. If I can dial into the soul protection, I can get it to abate enough that I then can remember, oh yes, even so, like your freedom's in you all the time. As far as safety, nah, never. One, because I do believe, especially with Western society and the way that we're taught and conditioned, I do believe those that we are told that are meant to keep us safe don't actually ever get taught what safety is. So they don't actually know how to keep us safe. Therefore, they cannot, even if you want them to keep you safe, they cannot do it. They've never been given a tool. Why? Because all of that gets, at least in Western society, for my money, all that gets co-opted as soon as you're conceived in order to sell you something. Boom, that safety has to get ripped out in order for that instability to be put in there so that I can sell you something. If you're already safe, if you're already protected, if you're already fully shorn up, you don't need anything from me. There goes capitalism. But that's the way our society runs. So of course you have to be unsafe. And even for me, in that knowledge, I feel protected because I know that that's what's behind the matrix. And that's cool. You want to rock that way? Go ahead. I'll be the Black woman that nobody pays attention to because I'm that little fishy that's going all the way up and down and you ain't never looking at me. Never, not once. I'll take, that's my protection. For me personally, I decide to flip it. For me, no one else, just for me, I decide to flip that and say, you don't see me, boom, I'm safe. I'm protected. You don't see me, you don't see me. I can rock like that.
Can I share something?
Please.
Thank you I love that this is the topic. I feel like this is a current topic in my conversations with the homies and even therapy. And thank you so much, Danielle, for sharing those instances, right? They felt so real and relatable, like, so what the question made me do was look up the definition of protect. Just because I'm like a low-key etymologist, I'm like, what does that mean? And there's a couple definitions which made me go into a few layers of protection. I think that there are places in my life where I feel protected, definitely with my community and my tribe. I feel like my vulnerability is protected. I also feel like a protector now that I'm, I have aging parents and like I feel like I'm trying to put some things in place. Then I think about, I have so one of the stories which came as you were talking, Danielle, the memory of this moment. I was walking down the street and this Black man, he was clearly either homeless or not in his right mind. He spit on me. I was random. I'm walking, I'm on the phone and it was hot out. So, I'm not wearing anything that had a lot of clothes, but he spit on me. And it hit my skin. And it was just like this moment of like, I registered so many things like, what can I do? He spit on me. He's Black. It was just so many things about it. And immediately I looked to the left and right of me and there was a police precinct. I walked over to the police precinct and to a car with an officer in it. And I said, this man, he just spit on me. He's standing right there. And he was like, I'm off duty. You can go downstairs to the subway and ask one of them to help you. I go downstairs to the subway. There wasn't anyone there. And I just remember feeling like no one's here for me. Like this man just spit on me. He's standing right there. There was no big brother I could call. I didn't grow up with my father. It was just all this, like, I just felt like he just can do this. And so in the end of it was I actually had pepper spray and I pepper sprayed him right in his eyes and I ran and then I ran home. But the thing that comes up is that even that layer of protection, just like we're out here, that hit when you said that, Danielle, we are out here. And then just to come home and then there wasn't anyone that other than my tribe that I could be like, this happened and that they were there for me, that they were like present with what that was. And then I also think about being economically protected. I grew up in economic insecurity. So I'm out here trying to break through some generational wealth. I'm trying to break through some stuff. And I kind of feel like if I don't make it, there's no catch for me. Like when I walk into the room, a lot of things speak before I get to speak. And so yeah, my answer to if I had to simplify it is I think there are areas where I have created protection for myself. I do not feel like I can fall apart and be vulnerable in every place. And so, no, I wouldn't say that I feel protected completely, but I would venture for us to even dissect, like, what does protection look like and feel like even right now, as we're dealing with men that are also trying to figure out what they got going on. Like, it's just many layers, but.
That is a perfect segue because yes. I'm just want to say we're going to get to that.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Go ahead, Daniel.
It just made me think as you were talking, Gia, because in the situation in the subway, when the attendant asked me, do you want to call the police? I immediately was like, I know what could happen to this dude. And I was like, I don't want to do that. But then I didn't want to go upstairs. And so, like, to think about the idea of who is protecting us and this kind of, like, And I know that, I don't know, most of us would honestly think that, right? If we were attacked or whatever the case was, like, damn, do I want to call the police on this Black man?
Yep.
Right. That you're acting as the protector. Even though you've been assaulted or wronged, and it's a lot. It's layered. It's really,
Yeah.
layered.
I had a friend who was raped by a stranger who broke in her home. Broke in her home and raped her, but she saw through everything that he was Black. And she never told the police because she said, I knew they were going to go out and pick some random Black men because I did not have anything to identify him. They would pick somebody random. So she never got to speak for herself in that situation because she was trying to protect somebody else who a lot of times is not protecting us. But we will get to that.
And who's holding her as she's going through the grief?
I have so much to say about that, Jay. So when we get to that point, I'll just pick up on that because.
Can I jump in? I just wanted to chime in on I don't want the echo chamber, but Gia mentioned something about feeling financially safe, which quite honestly, when I think about one of my biggest fears, it is having worked so hard throughout my entire career and look up and be at that place in my life where ageism kicks in, and maybe the things that I would have gotten hired for, I'm no longer getting hired for, and look up and I'm no longer able to sustain myself. And, I think about, aging parents. It's not like I am gonna call them and be like, can you handle my New York City rent and help me feed my dog and keep up, this lifestyle I've created. But when I think about that, I just always think about the phrase, like, no one's coming to save you. I think that when we were younger, or at least when I was younger, I may have been less worried about this because in my mind, I was like, I'll be okay. One day I'll get married, it'll be 2 incomes and all that stuff. And not to say that I've given up on the thought of marriage, but I have to plan my life based on what I have now, which is really just myself, my talents, my resources, and the money that I'm creating for myself. So physically in New York City, emotionally, spiritually, I feel safe because I'm very intentional about, the spaces I'm in, even the career path I've chosen. From a very young age in my career, I was clear that I wanted to do work that was allowing me to be of service to the Black community. And not to say that, what's the saying? All skin folk and kinfolk. I know that. But I do feel like there's a lot of bullshit that I don't deal with because most of my business interactions are with brothers and sisters. And then, if it's outside of our community, it's kind of limited. But that financially safe thing keeps me up at night because look at how fast 2020 has gone by. Like, life comes at you fast. And, I remember when I was 20 something and it's just like, oh, this felt like so far away, but it's here, and this is the age where people are planning for retirement and all that. And I just don't want to get caught out there. I feel like I've worked so damn hard I want work to be optional very soon in my life. And I want it to be optional, and I want to be able to cherry pick the things that I do decide to work on, but I want to do that and feel financially safe. So everything that all the decisions that I make career-wise, I think about, is that decision going to get me to this financially safe place that I want to be in?
Before we discuss, thank you for that, Renee. Before we discuss what safety is, I saw Unique. You had your hand up.
I did. I'm actually kind of triggered, and I was getting emotional because sorry. So I've always been overdeveloped as a person. Like, I'm talking about age 2, I had a bumper, okay? And I vividly remember telling my mother about male attention very early on. And so, see, it's so unfortunate that I've gone so through my whole entire life feeling unprotected. And still, I mean, Gia, you touched upon it. Danielle, you touched upon it. Still feeling like I don't want to escalate things so that it would harm the livelihood of my brother, who only wanted to harm me for his benefit. And I think about the duality of that. Antoinette, you talked about duality when you first opened up the conversation. And as a Black woman, that's all we live in. We don't know anything but duality or multifaceted lives, and functions, and making it all, and it is stress induced and or stress inducing, I should say. And it does give me quite the anxiety. So like, I'm really thinking about it, and I'm kind of like, you hear my voice trembling a little bit, and I don't feel protected, and I never do. And it's not just even me in the physical. I already start to think about, okay, if my husband and I want to have a kid, based on what sex, what kind of protection can we give them? What kind of education can we give them? And I'm not talking about book education. I'm talking about street smarts. I'm talking about how to read the room and see how people perceive you. So it's like, I'm always thinking about how unprotected I am, and creating an armor so that I can just get through the day to be able to get to the next day. And it's this cyclical thing that has lived with me for so many decades. Like, even think about how Black girls are perceived. We're never given the benefit of innocence. We're never given the benefit of being a child. And so it's just, I have to deal with what this emotion, like literally the first question out the gate, but I'm so taken aback by it because it's really like triggering, because I'm thinking about all the instances that I really did not feel safe. And it's only by my spirituality and my relationship with God that and my ancestors and all the prayers that people speaking that I don't even know about that carried me through things. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, I'm a little emotional, but that's literally what I'm thinking about. Like, and even, unfortunately, even with my quote unquote tribe, I can't say I feel 100% protected, because I had an instance happen to me, and because I can seem very strong, they couldn't see me in a victim role. Mm-hmm. You understand? They couldn't assign me the victim. And so then I'm betrayed by the people I felt like I could be myself with, that I could be transparent with. And so then I just become more reclusive. And so I can't honestly say I feel protected.
It's such an interesting thing when you realize that the people that you love in your life don't see you and don't think that you're and aren't capable of allowing you to feel the way you feel. Right. I deal with that a lot. My mom is white, and I have been really vocal about this. Like an instance, I've been really vocal about this election and how basically Black people have saved the world. You're welcome. And her response to me was like, I really wish you would word that differently, because all votes count. And I was like, what? Did you just hit me with all votes count, sis? And this is like my white, liberal, Trump hating mother who still doesn't see it and get it. And it feels like such a.
Right. So even if you bring up a great point, because we can have people who we love and who
love us
still have their privilege on their back, and they push it in your face and expect you to just take it on and wear it. Mm-hmm. For instance, my Zoom call on Monday, I have a Monday meeting with my whole team at work, and most of my team are liberal female, so they speak very freely. They're all white also. They all speak very freely, which is also a privilege, about how they feel about everything all the time. And we jump out and I'm just sitting my little Black ass in the corner, just like, child, let me just get through this report. And the one male who's my VP comes in, he was like, yeah, unfortunately, my whole family's voting for Trump. And I was like, not shocked. And he said, I'm not voting for Trump. I said, okay, cool. He said, but I'm not voting. I don't think I'm going to vote. I said, ooh, that's your privilege. And he was like, what? I said, it must be so nice to think that you could just not vote. I said, quite frankly, you could feel how you want to feel about all the candidates. It's not like Biden's my choice. If I had a choice, I wouldn't have selected him, right? But these are the cards that are dealt. But I know one candidate that makes me believe that democracy is possible, and one candidate that makes me fear for my life every day. And that's the difference. And I told him that, and he looked shocked. And I said, even your face right now just shows your privilege. I said, you live in Connecticut, you're living your life, you have no qualms with the world. I unfortunately have to think about, literally, I have my husband text me all the time when he's going for a walk. I'm like, just make sure, let me know that you're good. Like, joints is wild out here, like the ambulances and all of that. Like, just let me know you're good. I have to look around at all times because I don't know how I'm going to be perceived. Like,
it's on.
That type of stress causes disease, and disease is like disease is dis-ease, right? It's that, like, we carry that within us. I also think that it's and a couple people talked about this. I think it's especially triggering and especially confusing and disappointing and deeply saddening when you don't feel protected around Black men and Black women, or they don't know how to offer you the protection that you need, which is why I think that it's important that we get into the conversation around what we need, what we consider protection to be. Because I'll just say, I think that we kind of know what protection is because we know what it feels like not to have it. So we know how to protect other people because we're like, I know how I would want to feel in this moment. I can shepherd you. I got you, right? But if you're walking around with privilege, you don't even have, like Jasmine said, you don't have the tools. You don't even know what to offer. So last story, and then we're going to get into what protection is and what we need. I was walking down the street one time with one of my best male friends. I love him to death. And I'm walking down the street with him, and this other guy says like some just horrendous stuff to me about, my body, what he was gonna do with it, yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. And we were walking and we kept walking. I ignored it. And then finally it dawned on my friend. He was like, is he talking to you? And he turned around and cursed him out. I mean, threatened to beat him up, all this stuff. And I'm looking at him like, wow, okay, you showed up for me. We kept walking. And he said, he acted like he didn't even see me standing there. And I was like, oh, that was about you. That was about your ego. That you were upset because I was walking down the street with you and he disrespected you. Not that I should just be able to walk down the street freely. So you still have some type of ownership over me where you feel like that was threatened. Mm-hmm. And that's not the protection I need. That's not what I'm asking from you. I'm asking you to give me agency. I hate that word, but give me agency and see me as valuable enough to deserve respect. Mm-hmm. So I say all that to say, folks don't have the tools. Folks aren't clear. And I was asking myself the other day, like, what would protection look like to you? And I wasn't even clear. So this conversation is really helping me because I'm so used to not having it. I don't even know if I know what to ask for. So I just want to ask, what does protection look like? And I want to kind of pass this off to Nana.
Thank you. I think I kind of agree with a lot of that's been shared this evening. And this is a conversation that I've honestly been having with myself during this time in quarantine. I decided to remove all of my lovers from my life because they were not serving me. They were just space fillers. And I think in respect to this conversation, it was so interesting to me that I could be talking to all of these men and having all of these people in my life and feel so alone, feel so unwanted, feel so unprotected. And it was clear to me that a lot of what I needed to sit back away from them and figure out what it is that I'm looking for. And I think Yannick had mentioned something about armor, and that resonated so much with me because I feel like throughout my entire existence, even when it comes to my family, when it's been around my friends, there's been such a wall that I've built around myself out of fear of not being understood, of not being appreciated, of not being cared for. And I think, if I'm being honest with myself, I've walked through this world projecting that, assuming that, maybe sometimes not giving people the opportunity to care for me, because I always thought, well, no one has shown up for me in the past, so you're gonna be just like everybody else. And I really wanted to remove that from my person during this time, and feeling like it's okay to be vulnerable. Maybe I feel like I am very vulnerable, but probably to a fault, to a detriment, where I'm sharing myself with more people than are worthy of knowing me in that way. And I Antoinette, you said something about you don't think some folks have the tools, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that, and people say this all the time, like, you'll be dealing with somebody for a few years, you decide finally to step away, then all of a sudden they get in their next relationship and they're the best partner in the world. Like, if you care about somebody, if you treasure that person, if you appreciate them, people know how to treat people. I don't think that is foreign. You know how you want to be treated. Mirror that. I guarantee you, if you ask a man how they want to be appreciated, they don't have any problem saying that. I know that in my relationships, I've been fearful to put myself out there in that way, to project my needs, to tell my partners what I wanted, because I always felt like, oh, I'll be doing too much. I want to be easy. I want to be cool. I want to, like, all of that kind of goofy shit. And it's a done. No, we're not doing that anymore. Like, a lot of me and my friends be having a conversation about paying, the whole conversation about splitting and going duck, and if who asks and who pays, and we gonna sit here and look at this bill until until you decide to pay for it, because I'm not doing it anymore. And I have, in so much of my relationships, to trying to be amicable, to be easy, to be passive, to be in hopes of being admired, and that never came. And so it was like, I'm belittling my worth for your attention, and you still not even gonna give it to me. So, like, what am I doing here? So the conversation of what it looks like to be protected, and what I need in my protection, is something that I'm still developing, but I know that respect is huge for me. Appreciation is huge for me. Reciprocity is a huge, like, I'm a Capricorn, I'm a nurturer, I'm a caregiver. Like, I love on people. It's very easy for me to do that. And I think that, to my detriment, I do that in excess, because it's so natural for me, that people get very comfortable very easily. And it's hard for me to switch it off. But hopefully when I move into my new relationships, I'm going to work diligently to kind of allow people to really court me, because I feel like that's never happened in my life. So, like, and real interests. Like, I feel like, especially in 2020 with this dating and Tinders and all that other stuff, the pool is so wide, as they say, and if people are easily accessible, that, like, they will collect you. They don't really care about you. They don't really want you. You cool, but, like, it's whatever. And I don't want to be with anybody who is confused about me, who is questioning me, who has to, pro and con me. You want to be here. You want to be with me. And I feel like when you're stepping in relationships like that, the care, the nurture, the love, like, that protection will happen. a little story before. I know I'm a little long-winded, but I had I worked the polls on Tuesday, and I was walking home. The polling site was very close to where I live. And this older woman that I was working with was like, "Oh, where do you live?" And so we ended up realizing that we're like next door neighbors. Halfway to getting home, this Asian man just kind of appears in the middle of the night. And she's like, "Oh, it's my husband." And she was like giving him attitude. She was like, "I'm already home. I'm halfway there. Like, you're late." And I was like, "Oh, was he supposed to come get you?" She was like, "Yeah, I was gonna wait for him, but then I saw that you were walking." And I thought that was so beautiful. Like, who is gonna come in at 10 o'clock at night to come pick me up from the bus stop, from the polling site, from, you know what I'm saying? That's protection. That is care. You are considering me. It is late. I mean, I don't live in a very dangerous neighborhood, but it's 10 o'clock at night. I don't want my wife walking home at night. So I'm gonna go get her. Like, it's just that thought. It's that care. To me, care and protection kind of go hand in hand, because if you care about something, you're gonna protect it. And I don't know that I don't want to let men, Black men in particular, off so easily to say that they don't know. You don't care. And that's why you're not protecting me. I don't matter to you. In this situation, even in the story that you just shared with us about your friend, I'm sure your friend cares about you, but he cares more about himself than he could ever think about you, because his first instinct was himself and his pride and his ego. Like, how dare you disrespect me? You don't see me walking down the street with this woman. It's like, you don't hear the thing. Like, he was talking about me. He wasn't talking about you. So I think care and protection kind of go hand in hand.
Can I just say something really quickly about that last point that you made, Nana? Because so much of what you said resonated with me about how this man was thinking more about himself than about you. And I don't want to go down a long path on that, but we know that that's by design. We know that during colonialism, when Africans were being brought to on the New Passage, right? Middle Passage. I'm sorry, I'm like a little tipsy, y'all. It's gonna be a little messy. Follow me. We know that that was broken down. We know that women were selected to be raped and tortured, and that the men who tried to protect them were tortured. And we know that that was a practice. That has not been forgotten. That's in our DNA. It's in our psyche. It sits in us. And until these men, this is what we're talking about. How do we even ask for protection from our men who have been taught, you don't protect them. You watch as they're beaten down. You say nothing, you do nothing, probably encourage it or, engage in it. And then you are protected. Of course, he was thinking about himself first. That's how he's been trained to think. You got to protect yourself, look away when something's happening to her. It's all about you. So this is by design. We're still perpetuating that mentality, and it's just been being played out in these subtle ways. And that's the big question for me, is at what point do we say, how have we internalized these systems? We can't forget that Black men have also internalized these systems. So then can we still expect protection from them? That's a big question. I mean, we should be able to, but can we, if they haven't discovered that they're still doing that same thing? They're still perpetuating that mentality. They still carry that in their DNA. They haven't forgotten that. They haven't remembered the ancestors that are crying for them to like make some sort of retribution toward that. Like, I don't know. I'm gonna stop talking.
No,
I think this is like a conversation that Black men need to have and that they haven't had. Because I feel like when I do talk to Black men in my life, a lot of them, they do feel like, they feel like they're getting a bad rep. And I'm like, I get it, but at the same time, y'all aren't really talking to each other. I mean, in the way that this is, this being one of the forms that women, we get to communicate and talk to each other and, express our experiences. I'm like, that's not something that's normalized or with Black men. And I know y'all have issues with it, because I know I see even on just social media, people just get this like, oh, like, why y'all like this? And I'm like, well, because I mean, when I talk to my Black male friends about it, I'm like, we're not doing it from a place to just denigrate. We are literally telling you our experiences. We're not, there's nothing in it for us in all of this. And I do feel like, Mary, what you said, like, there's been a conditioning away from that. And I think what's replaced that is just like overall patriarchy. This idea of, your friend was offended because he felt like that could have been my woman. like a sense of ownership. Like, well, he disrespected something that he should have assumed was mine. I'm like, and so that it's like, this isn't constructive. This isn't ideal. Meanwhile, yeah, it's like he should have immediately said something just because of who you are as a person. I do think that's a problem. I try to encourage it when I do tell them, like, well, what, like, do y'all talk about this? And it's like, no. I'm like, well, then y'all need to talk about this, because if we're telling you this and you're getting upset and offended, I feel you on that, because I don't necessarily want y'all coming at me telling me about stuff about me, because I'm gonna tell, like, well, but y'all don't have these conversations, and there's nothing wrong with having these types of conversations. I know, it's always like oh, well, check your man. Yeah, you gotta check your man. But I'm also like, maybe y'all should really just have a conversation, not so much of like, oh, check your man. So they, it's like almost like saying like, don't go out there and be, I don't know anybody who does that, but you don't really talk about that. You don't talk about scenarios, you don't talk about situations. You don't, women who have experienced these things, and it's not just one dude out here doing it all. So like, it's somebody, I really try to like encourage it, but I do know that it's not something that they're, it's just not conditioned. Like men are just not conditioned to really for them to communicate and like sit down and really have these types of conversations. I try to encourage it, but it's just, it's terrible to me. I'm just like, y'all could just really just have a conversation. And honestly, it strengthens your bonds as Black men too, to have these conversations. It's not weak. It's actually, allowing yourself that level of vulnerability means that can't be used against you. That strengthens you. I think women, I think we generally understand that and utilize that to build our strength. But I think men just, they're not there yet. I think that's no excuse, but they need to get there. But I think that's my perception.
Interesting that and I'm not, this is valuable conversation that we're having. I think it's interesting that the question was, what do we need and what is protection? And what we're talking about is what Black men aren't giving us, which is obviously there's something lacking there. We need something, right? But in the beginning, in the conversation prior to that, we talked about not feeling protected with our family, not feeling protected at work, possibly not feeling all the way protected spiritually, definitely within relationships. But when we talk about what we need, we're talking about what we don't have and who we don't have it from. So when we have these conversations with men, I'm curious to know, or with anyone, and we can continue this conversation if that's where we go, but I'm just inviting us to examine why the conversation went there. And I'm not saying it's a bad place that it went at all, but I'm just saying it's a really interesting.
I just want to say something, because I've been over the past 4 or 5 years having conversations like this about Black women not feeling protected with groups of Black women and Black men, to just have that conversation. And they've been small and in safe spaces where, people can say what they have to say and they get really heated, and it's always okay in the end. And I was just going to present that, does this conversation about what we need, is it okay to just acknowledge that we need Black men to protect us? That's okay to say. I think that we're dancing around that because as Black women, we're taught to be strong and resilient and to not need anyone and to like do it ourselves. And it's like Black women got Black women. But every single time I've had this conversation, Antoinette, you're right. It goes back to talking about how we don't feel protected by Black men, which means that is what we need.
Well, what does it look like? What does it look like? What is the protection? Go. I don't know. Jasmine, Danielle, Gia, then Tara.
I can say, like, just for me, the first step for me always in seeking protection is humanize me. Just simply humanize me. Meaning, choose me. Before you do anything else. Before you about to pop off, before you about to buck whatever you want to do, before you about to laugh, I don't care if you're about to laugh hysterically, choose me. If you can't choose me, you can't protect me. It's actually impossible, because if you don't make the choice to choose me, to see me, to consider me, to anything me, you then obviously have no tools to protect me. Because if you haven't chosen me, you haven't asked me what I need in that protection. And what I need in that protection is completely different from every single other human being on the planet. What I need for protection is solely mine. And we can't get to that if you haven't stood in front of me and said, okay, you, what is it you want? What is it you need from me? What is it? And I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's my mother. I've had this conversation with my mother many times as an only Black child, many times of like, that's not helpful. That's not what I need. I've told you this thing because I needed your counsel, and what you're popping off and you have not heard me anymore. So I'm off the phone. I'm done. It doesn't help me. I love you, goodbye. Or I love you, click, and there's no goodbye. Like either way, it's, for me, the protection is face me first to know what it is that you need to protect. And then ask me a question, because even in whatever moment, if I'm in that moment of walking down the street and some dude wants to say some shit, I might not give a shit. That might not be I might not need you to turn and pop off to them. I might need you to just actually walk behind me so I just don't have to energetically get that shit from that mouth and keep walking. Or I might need you to just punch him in the throat so I don't have to hear it anymore. Or I might need you to step aside so I can say, hey, sir, how you feeling today? Whatever it is, it might change, it does change consistently, which I think is why, at least for me, it can be interestingly difficult to actually pinpoint what I need in terms of protection, because that changes. That armor, whatever it is, that shield is a dance of several kinds of things dependent on the situation. Like I did this like 2 summers ago, I started this thing and I've not stopped doing it. And it fascinates me every time I do it. I started to walk through, like there was, when I was going into the city, there were some areas that had construction sites. I was like, let me do a little test. Would have a line of dudes, just a line. And I would have to see, I saw it. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna have to walk straight through y'all. And before they could do anything, I was like, here, I'm walking the gauntlet. I would look them dead in their eye. Hey, sir, how you doing today? Hey, sir, how you doing today? And hit them every single time. And it was every month. They, first of all, just shock and awe. Like, couldn't like, I don't understand what did you just do? I spoke to you and I didn't take you for being a slab of rancid meat that's gonna throw some catcall at me. I humanized you first. I'm teaching you how to treat me. I'm gonna humanize your ass, so you have to humanize mine. And as soon as I did it, it was an instant. Every single one, I hit the first one. Hey, sir, how you doing? Bright smile. Hey, ma'am, how are you today? Guys, get out the way. All of them, smile, 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 smile. Not one cat call, not one inappropriate, not one. Have a good day, ma'am. How you doing? Have a good day. You look beautiful today. Have a wonderful day. I hope you. Every single time. I do it in my hood. I'm in Bed-Stuy. I have so many of the old bros. There I feel protected. All the old bros. Hey, man, how you doing today, ma'am? How you doing today, young miss? How you doing today? But I started that with them. How are you, sir? Now, I'm not saying it has to be, we have to do that. But if I'm talking about my protection, I want to be protected the way I want to be protected. So I'm going to tell you how to do it. I'm going to tell you how to do it by humanizing you, and you are going to humanize me. You don't have a choice. If you want to get the choice, your ass going to be out in the middle of Nostrand.
Not Nostrand.
Yeah. That's the longest Ave in Brooklyn.
I was listening to this is years and years ago. There's, I think, an interlude on The Love Below, Andre 3000, who's my husband, don't even try it. There's a moment where you hear this woman and you hear her heels clicking and she just says, gentlemen. And from that moment on, I took that. And that's what I would do. So I don't, hey, sir, how you doing? That my thing was gentlemen. I just walk as soon as I'm approaching, gentlemen. And you see them, there's like, hi, yes. I'm like, that's correct. Because I'm at the time of the day. But I'm not always in the mood to do it. But it's interesting to see how it quickly just shift, gentlemen, because you just told them how they're supposed to act. You need to act like gentlemen because I'm about to walk by. Don't give me no drama.
Exactly.
Danielle, then Gia, then Tara.
No, I love that, Jasmine and Mary. Like it shows us that little changes are changes, you know, and that it can create something that becomes larger. Because I think I think it was Tara that mentioned the patriarchy, and I call it supremacy. It basically is the same as racism, the way that adultification has happened for Black girls, the way that criminalization has happened for Black girls. The statistics show us that Black girls are more criminalized than white counterparts, more adultified than white counterparts. And that kind of systemic problem shows up everywhere. It shows up at school. It shows up at home. It shows up on the block. It just shows up. So when you say that, Jasmine, it means that I'm going to help y'all the same way y'all need this reckoning that's happening right now to help us unlearn and change the shit that has gotten us here. That's how we have to implement change in our daily lives in order to showcase a new way of showing up, of a new way of treating me, a new way of addressing me. And I think that that's so brilliant because, you know, we think of marches, we think of protest, we think of all these things to create change in it. And, you know, that is helpful because banding together is the thing. But in our daily lives, having somebody think different, at least one of them construction workers is still telling that story. You know what I mean? And thought different and now maybe approach somebody different. So it's one of those things to where like we have reached the point where unlearning is the only way.
Yeah.
And that's just got to be what it is. And it don't have to be anger. It don't have to be burning. It don't have to be all these things. And those work, like I said, but like the daily lives and showing somebody how to treat you, I think that's dope. That's what protection looks like, because we have to get people to understand that girls are girls and they deserve to be protected. They don't deserve to have a police officer come and drag them out of their desk at school because they're not listening. Who's listening as a teenager? You know what I mean? But we don't get that courtesy.
Yeah.
So it's going to take education for one. Like, sadly, teachers have enough on their shoulders. I don't know what the world is going to look like after COVID, but we obviously don't pay those people enough because they are also in the position to break the whole school to prison pipeline, to break the whole idea that these people aren't anything but criminals or bad people or bad kids or bad girls or fast girls or whatever. So it's so much more that we can do, but it's still like, it feels like the similar battle to racism.
Gia, and then Tara, and then I see Layla.
Thank you. Nana and Danielle and Jasmine made me kind of keep building on my thought. But to Danielle's point, I think the decolonization of the mind is like required. And it made me think about the layers of what being protected could look like for me, right? There's like, what does it look like to be protected in the world as a woman in the world, as a businesswoman in the world? And I thought about like, that felt almost too grand to try to paint the picture of, because it requires so much that's outside of me. It requires like the unlearning and the learning and all the things. And the image that came to mind is from Love Country, or is it Lovecraft Country, where she was in the white body. Not for anybody, excuse me.
Spoiler alert.
But there's a part where, you know, one of the characters takes on another race, and in the world she's 100% protected. That's a vision of kind of what it looks like to be protected in the world. One where I'm able to exist in the world and be in the world and be in my softness and my delicateness and not have to be in what you construct as strong, freely, right? And there's one way. And then I think about protection more internally. And by internally, I mean in my relationships. And to your point, Antoinette, I thought about that as you brought that point up. Like, when I think about protection, I right away fall into protection from a man. And then that made me think, well, maybe that's because I didn't have that as a child, or I don't have that in a relationship. Like, it made me think, like, I wonder if that comes from that. Even as Yannick was speaking, she was talking about not feeling protected. And I'm like, wow, you have a husband at home and you kind of still walk around with that? Like that, transparently, that came to my mind. Right. And so that was a beautiful point that you brought up. Like, it's funny how the idea of what protection looks like, and I'm speaking for myself, a part of that visual and that picture comes from feeling protection from a man. And then what Nana brought up that inspired me was this feeling of like, you didn't use this word, but I know this label of being labeled difficult because you are particular or you require a certain thing, whatever that is. I've been like really dissecting this difficult situation for a while. And there's like two schools of thought. There's one where a homegirl was like, actually, I appreciate how you come, Gia, because dudes know what it is up front. And so later when you don't have to deal with it because they know what it is up front. And I'm like, well, I'm out here single and they saying, you know what I mean? So it was just really interesting place. Like, all right, that's true. I feel like I set a precedent. And at the same time, I'm like, what does it look like to be easygoing? Like, maybe that's not, so protected, another visual of protected for me is for me to be in the fullness of who I am, and that's okay. And there's a book by Neil Donald Walsh. It's called Neil Donald Walsh on Relationship. He's the author of Conversations with God, but he has this book that's not in print anymore. It's called Neil Donald Walsh on Relationship, and he talks about shrinking in the room, right? And his example is he was at a play and he was laughing hella loud and boisterously, and the woman he was with, he could tell that she was shrinking every time he laughed. So when he came back after intermission, he started to stifle his laugh, that he felt her like feel more present in the room. And he uses that example to say, when you're not your authentic self, someone chooses to be in a room with the person that you're just mirroring, not the truth of who you are. But if you are just like, this is who I am, this is what it looks like Jasmine said, to treat me in the way that, and vice versa, I want to be present for you, and they're choosing to be there, there's a very beautiful safety and security. Security was a synonym that came up in my mind as I was thinking about what it looks like to be protected. And it feels like all roads point to a sense of security financially as well. When I think about being protected financially, that means I got some ducks in a row. Estate is planned. This is in place. I feel secure. That's the same place I go with when I think about partnership, and a man's visual in my mind of being protected or being protected by a father. There's something about securing, like there's a securing where I don't really I can be delicate. I can be all of the softness of who I am. So I don't have the full visual of what it looks like to be and feels like for me to feel protected. But I think I want to design it as I'm experiencing it. I mean, I feel like that's the only place I can go with it for now, particularly in my where I'm at in terms of my self-awareness and like what the work I want to do in the world. I feel like I need to design what protection is as I'm going, particularly because this unlearning and this decolonization of the mind and the cultural unlearning that has to happen for me to actually feel like a protected Black woman in the world alongside a Black man who feels like he can stand up in the world. I don't know when that's happening. And so I got to design what it look like right now, day by day, step by step.
I love that you said that. I love that you said you need to design what that protection looks like for you. I fully understand, especially where Danielle and Yannick were coming from earlier when they were talking about people in the street. I know we've all dealt with it to an extent, and I know that it can get really bad for some of us. But for me, that's not my problem. I get street harassed, but I don't have no problem telling these niggas to leave me alone. I'm like, fuck you. I'm too good for you. Stop talking to me. I'll cut you. That's not my problem. I think my problem and where I need protection is that I need somebody to let me be vulnerable sometimes. Everybody's always looking at me like, Jade the nigga, excuse me. That's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? I always, I do my stuff. I kind of go through life. And I think that protection for me personally, and that's why I love that you said that, Gia, about designing your own protection or your own security, is sometimes just letting somebody allow me to be vulnerable, asking me if I'm okay, if I need anything, instead of always reaching out and doing things for other people.
You can be vulnerable with me, Jade.
Girl, see, this is what makes me shut it back down. When I get she starts getting weird with it. I do love that you said that each person needs to, that you may need to figure it out. You may not know what that protection looks like for you right now, and that's okay as well. You may have to figure out that along the way. So I love that you said that. Layla, who was next?
Tara and then Layla.
Layla, you can go.
Okay.
I mean, everyone all of you have developed and designed and communicated things in a way that has hit home for me. And there are moments that I'm saying yes. Also too, tonight, just this has been therapy for me too, because as Danielle, you were explaining some stories, that some unfortunate things that have happened to you. As you were doing that, I was taking deep breaths and on mute, because it was actually bringing up a lot of traumatic experiences that has happened to me this year and also last year that I'm still working through in therapy. And what does protection mean for me? Many things, but I will talk about the self first, because if my mental health is not protected and I don't have the mental stability, my outer vehicle and my core and my chakras will not be aligned to be a better version of myself every day. So I think protection for me is mentally, where am I at? And if the things that are around me environmentally are affecting that, then I need to take a step back and see what safe boundaries. I'm even like getting, like my voice is like shaking about it, but what are the safe boundaries that I need to create to protect my time, to protect my sanity, to protect my space? And I say that because I'm an only child. So many people rely on me. Protection to me means, who's gonna catch me when I fall? If I don't have this position in my life, if I don't have this job security, I have people relying on me. I'm a caretaker. I also too am a senior aide. I'm taking care of both of my parents. If I don't have this, who is going to be here to protect me? Who's going to be able to ask me, when am I doing okay? When am I not doing okay? That for me, it starts there. Getting to the mental stability, I think a lot of us don't necessarily, we're taught at an early age that therapy is important, and having access to mental health and having access to those resources is what's important too, to be able to educate our brothers and to be able to say, hey, you too need to go to therapy. You too need to be able to have that open and honest conversation. If it's not going to be with me, with your partner, or with your friends and your network, go to the therapy that you need to be able to talk about the things that are traumatizing your life, or that have traumatized your life, because whatever the fuck is traumatizing you, it is impacting me in some way, shape, or form. And we keep attacking each other because we haven't been able to feel safe enough to talk about what is traumatizing us, and it comes out in different ways. Other ways of protection, I think, is, I'm gonna just call it for what it is. Know how to defend yourself, right? It goes back to my instances last year. I've had 2 men attack me on the fucking train coming into Brooklyn, and one man pulled his dick out on me. The other man, sorry, I don't know if we can be so vulgar, but a guy pulled his dick out on me. Another guy pulled out a knife on me. Similar situation. I don't want to call the cops. And then I'm left with thinking, had I not known something of how to physically defend myself, what would that have meant? Because I can't rely on a man to fucking protect me. So there's something that has hardened me in life and in society that I'm trying to soften, because I look at things and I go, but why? Why did you do that? Why did you think it was okay? And then when I run home and I try to unpack that shit, that's where the work comes in. So for me, protection is also understanding that I have the tools within myself to be able to defend myself, whether it's taking a self-defense class, or whether it's learning how to drive, or whether it's creating these tools that are life-changing. And I say that because I never knew how to fucking drive until earlier this year. And when my mother had a stroke, you best believe I got a car, and I got my license, I have my license, and I got everything to make sure that now I have an extra tool that I find to be protecting me, because I'm able to transport myself. And it's being self-reliant and self-sufficient. I find that to be a form of protection, because if I'm not healthy, then again, it goes back to who's going to take care of me. And not to say I don't have that, but it's a little deeper for that. The other thing too is getting back to our men. Why I think it's so important that men more and more have a general sense of knowledge of, like, it is okay to talk about what is painfully hurting you. And I say that because even, my partner's probably going to kill me if he hears me talking about this right now. But, we recently, actually, it was just last night, we were able to unpack certain things in our relationship. We've been together for so many years. And even that, the part of the protection is the trust. The trust has to come into place too. And I think a lot has to do with a lot of us are not trusting ourselves. We're not trusting each other. And therefore there are other things that are impacting us in our communication with one another. So once that trust is built and once that trust is there, I do think that goes hand in hand with the protection.
The word. Anybody else have anything that they want to share? Go ahead.
Okay, so one, I just got to put on record that I do feel protected with my husband.
I knew she was going to say that.
Before he sees this, and he'd be like, sis, you didn't even say, don't put me out there. They think I don't protect you. Like, he definitely protects me. In effect, so that like, I'm the best version of myself because of our relationship, because he allowed me to be myself 100%. And Gia, you actually touched on this, and it just kind of changed my shifted my thought. Sorry, the drinks. I have always felt too much, like legit. I'm talking about TEW much. Like people have always just been like, yo, you're mad extra. You doing a lot. I'm an Aries. So, you either love us or hate us. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I took that in. I internalized that. And then I legitimately felt like anything that went wrong with friendships, relationships, I thought I was the cause of that. I was the issue with that. And it wasn't until, it was actually my friendship, because I've known Ron for 18 years. And so he was the big homie, and he was like, why you allowing her to talk to you like that? And I'm like, well, because I could be too much. And he was like, no, she's dead wrong. And it was through his almost lens and the way he saw me and the way he just took me at who I was at my core that made me like, yo, I shouldn't be treated like this. And maybe I should demote this friend and X, Y, and Z. So that's one. Two, so he definitely protects me, like, whatever. Two, sorry. Two, going back to your point, Tony, AKA Antoinette, the fact that why do we bring it to Black men? And I can only speak for myself. I look at other races and there's almost like an envy there, because the moment someone else from outside of the race maybe speaks about their women, they're quick to defend. I feel that with our community, if someone rags on us, they start coming in with more jokes as opposed to saying, hey, and this is not even like, there's plenty of men who say they don't date Black women, X, Y, and Z. I don't even care if you date me. Like, if you don't want me, trust me, somebody else does. Like, I'm everybody's side, trust. But you also don't have to come in and go harder on me and say how I'm unattractive and all these things, as if I'm not the one when you're down and out, picking you up, praying for you, feeding you, educating you, nurturing you. When everyone else puts their back like to you, I'm the one saying, please, do you see the worth of this man? Do you see how much? And I'm building you back up, and I'm giving you that esteem, and I'm dressing you off, and I'm putting you back in the world together. And then you get to a certain place, and then you feel like you can speak out on me. It just feels like such a deep betrayal. And so that's why I feel, and I've been fortunate. I thank my father every Father's Day. I thank him every Father's Day, because I'm like, Daddy, because of you, I don't have any daddy issues. My father is a very sensitive soul. He'll kiss me from my forehead. He'll kiss when my mother was still walking this earth, love her down from her crown to her toenails. So because of him, I know how a man's supposed to treat me. However, I didn't see that much outside of my home. And so it was a mind fuck for me, because I'm like, is my father the norm? Or am I supposed to really be looking to how I'm supposed to be treated by these other men? And I had a lot of issues with that. And then thankfully I went to Temple University, TU, and they had, right? Okay. They have an amazing African-American studies curriculum. And so I took several courses, and that's when I really understood how the conditioning of the Black family took a toll on the relationship between the Black woman and the Black man. And it's just so unfortunate that I feel as if the women in our community really make it a point to educate ourselves and look deeper and do work to kind of undo a lot of what history has taught us. And the men don't show up in the same way. And that's not to say all Black men don't show up, but even if you're thinking about voting, I don't think it's a coincidence that you keep hearing about the Black woman vote carrying everyone. And so we've shouldered so much. And still, because we've embodied this, you know, it almost seems indefinite power, right? Where like, you keep building on us, you keep breaking us down, you rip our children from our bosom to feed your children, all the different things. You tell us how horrible we are, but you keep procreating with us through rape and all types of different things. And we still rise, and we still are the most educated group, and we're still doing all the things, and we're still the leading entrepreneurial set and all the things, right? Mm-hmm. Damn, I just lost my thought. Shit, what was I talking about? Sorry, the drink. We still rise, and our men just don't value us. At least it feels like they don't value us. And it might be one of those situations where maybe behind closed doors, they're speaking our praises, but that's not where we need it most, because we're not loving them behind closed doors. We're on the forefront constantly singing their praises. And I think we just want reciprocity. To me, because I'm such a giving person, and I love so hard and I love so deep, and because I do walk around with an armor, so it's almost like if I let you in and you get to see all the molten parts of me, all the soft, sweet, gooey issues, then I expect you to give me that same treatment. And when you don't, it hurts in a deep way. So that's it before I keep going on.
Hi, Ange. Thank you.
So I've been very quiet. I think naturally in my career, I'm a clinical social worker, so I do a lot of listening. So, but I have to say that everything I've been listening to has been very impactful. I am someone who struggles with communicating their feelings. I'm going to be honest. So I just have to say that it's what I'm hearing. Like, I cried, I shed tears, my voice was trembling. And I think I really appreciate this space because I'm Dominican, I'm a Black Dominican. I'm very aware of my Blackness as a Dominican. But one of the things that I was thinking about in listening to this is my brothers, right? I have 4 Black Dominican brothers who don't acknowledge their Blackness at full capacity. So the whole time I'm like, damn, like, yeah, we need men. And my security and protection comes from men. I'm like, but my men are not even aware of their Blackness. So how do they even know how to be present for Black women? You know what I mean? So there's so much, and I spend so much time just trying to educate them, that to get them to the point that we're discussing, it seems just unbearable, right? And like our culture plays such a big role in this. And it's just like, I still can't answer that question, like even the whole time. I mean, one of the things I really appreciate is creating that, what protection looks like, and creating it. And I love that idea. But even still, I'm like, shit, where the fuck do I start? Right? Like this all hits home for me. It touches my soul, but it's just like, all right, after this call, Angela, what are you gonna do first? like where do you even begin? And that's where I'm at right now.
What a segue, Angie.
Right?
Girl, from a lot on you, girl. I mean, so what I'm hearing is that protection looks like prayer. It looks like respect. It looks like reciprocity. It looks like giving me space, allowing me to show up as my full whole self. And I think say it again.
Learning, like
Learning.
understanding
What else? Listening.
Unlearning.
Unlearning.
Yeah.
I think a big one though, and we're going to get to this too, is accountability. Okay? Accountability is one of my favorite words. Accountability is a thing. Put it on a shirt. I have to say that I was having a conversation, and I get accused of centering Black men, right? I get accused of it all the time because I grew up as a daddy's girl. And I'm like, I know Black men that love me. But I have to be very honest, is that like, my dad was an amazing father, terrible husband. And my mom wasn't Black, so that's a different conversation. But he was still cheating on her with Black women and breaking their hearts too. So I have these conversations with him around this. And then I also have conversations with very close women in my life who hashtag Breonna Taylor, hashtag this, hashtag that, right? Protect Black women, but are sleeping with another Black woman's man. But it's hashtag protect Black women. That does not feel like protection to me. So I just feel like accountability across the board is really, really important. And I'm gonna say that this last and final question came up for me. And the question is like moving forward, because we all have a seat at this table, because we all are at various tables, right? We all are in this world occupying different spaces, which is why we all brought, Jade and I thought, let's bring all of these dynamic women together. In doing certain projects, Renee reached out to me and was like, sis, I see that you're doing these projects. I see that certain things are coming up for you. I am happy for you. Are you getting paid? And if not, we need to talk about it because it's important. And I don't want nothing from you. I don't want, and you don't have to even have this conversation with me. I'm just offering this to you. That was a form of protection that I never even considered. This sis was like, I'm gonna put you on to game real quick because it's important. And by protecting you, I'm also protecting me, because if you're gonna be doing stuff for free, then they ain't gonna pay me no more, right? So it's protecting all of us. And this protection, like it's cyclical and it's really important. And I appreciated that so much because I was messing up with in certain ways with certain brands. And she helped me out. She reached out and was like, this is how you have to do it. So let's talk. So the last and final question that Jade and I have is, what way in each of our lives, I want to go around, in the spaces that we occupy, there's a call to action, are we going to commit ourselves, further commit and deepen our commitment to protecting Black women? What are what is the tangible things that we can do in our lives? Because it feels really big, just like Angie said, but there's small, whether it's hello gentlemen, hello sir, whether it's sis, I see you doing this. Are you sure are they taking care of you right? Or are you walking home by yourself? No, I'm gonna call you an Uber. Are you tired? I could take your kid. Let me babysit for you. Whatever that looks like in your world, whether it's, yo, you have this brand. Yo, I run the Curly Girl Collective. Come through. We got be a sponsor. We got you. Whatever that looks like.
I'd like to start with that. My creative partner and I, we have a platform called The Gig, right? We are under the rainbow. We represent Black and brown and also queer. That's the other thing we have not talked about in this space tonight, and maybe that's just continuing conversation, is like where the safe spaces for Black LGBTQI communities. But with that, The Gig is a platform where we focus on Black and brown talent in production. So what I'm going to be accountable for, because I work in production, I'm a producer, right? My day job is I'm the global executive producer for Instagram. My passion and what I'm passionate about and what I give a shit about is seeing Black and brown talent getting paid the day rates that they deserve to get paid, seeing more female directors, they there as well, being able to have a seat at the table, being able to be in the triple bidding process, to be contracted in these big campaigns and productions. It is my responsibility as a producer. It is also my passion to make sure that I see for Black women that they are getting the same day rate that a white director is getting, and that they are going to be getting paid what they deserve, and whatever the fuck that is, right? Because their talent, it is valuable, it is magical, it is golden, and it is often overlooked in these larger conversations. And that is where I tend to fight with clients. That is where I tend to have these conversations where I end up being called the bad cop and the enemy. And I honestly do not give a shit, because negotiation for me is important to make sure that Black women are getting paid what they deserve, especially in production. There are so many people who are not getting paid what they deserve. So I want to make sure, and the gig is part of that, right? The gig, it's not even a shameless plug, it's just to let everyone know that's the platform was created out of a necessity and out of not seeing representation of people of color, especially women, to be able to say, hey, this is what your day rate should be. This is what you should be getting paid. Here's what we're here to do. Here are the educational tools. And then in addition to that, we develop content. We have a production company. But that is for me, like, that is what I stand by. And that's what myself and my creative partner, what we are here to do. So if anyone has any questions and they want to sidebar with me afterwards, I'd love to chat.
Layla, can you drop the information in the chat?
Yeah, do that.
Can I go next?
Please.
Antoinette, since you brought up that scenario, first of all, it was just second nature to just reach out to you. It was like a reflex, like, hey, she's doing this, but I wonder if, and it also came from you being vulnerable and open on your podcast. You mentioned wanting to monetize your gifts. So you put it out in the universe, and this is something I'm committed to, but because you put it out, I felt comfortable sharing that with you and just texting you like, hey, can you talk? Not everyone is open to receiving that. So thank you for you to even being open to receiving it. But that is part of my commitment, and I'm committed to it for two reasons that are a bit conflicting. One, because every door that has been opened for me, every amazing opportunity I've had in my career has literally been because of a Black woman. I could only think of a couple things, 2 Black men that just come to mind immediately that have deliberately opened doors for me or made introductions for me or shared insight with me. But everything else that I've been able to accomplish has been because a Black woman has shared something with me, opened the door, reached out and things like that. I mean, even my very first documentary landing on Netflix, I attribute it to not only the power and, impact of our stories, but because a Black woman literally 2 years ago was on vacation. One Black woman connected me to her. This woman took time on her vacation to sit and talk to me for like over an hour about, okay, so you have this film, this is where you need to shop it. This is the distribution agency you need to go to as an independent filmmaker. This is what you need to consider. She shared so much with me that she didn't really have to. Sometimes people see someone newly coming into that space as a threat. She already had a project on Netflix. She gave me the information and I ran with it. And here we are, the film is on Netflix and it's gonna be there until next July. And so I owe that to a Black woman. So because Black women have been so just generous with me, I feel like I have to pay it forward. And on the flip side of that, there have been some really tough lessons that I've had to learn on my own because I didn't have anyone to share, whatever knowledge I needed with me. So I'm also committed to, I don't want you to make the same mistakes I've made. I've been blessed to work on both sides of the table when it comes to influencer work. I was doing PR before I started doing the filmmaking and storytelling. So I was the one, identifying talent like you for our clients to align with. And I got to see what the budget was versus what the talent was asking for. And sometimes there was a huge difference and sometimes there wasn't. But because I'm now on this other side, and in a lot of scenarios, I am the talent, I have some insight that a lot of people don't have. And I feel like it's my responsibility to share it. And what you mentioned was, yeah, some of it could be selfish because there is an ecosystem that we have as Black women. So yeah, if you're out here working for, 99 cents, then that's what they're going to expect from me. And I'm not trying to work for 99 cents. So it's like, we all need to be coming to these conversations, knowing our worth and asking for our worth and adding tags. And so if that's something I can impart with someone who is new in this space or not new, I think we all need to be on the same page, because otherwise none of us will get paid, and none of us will have, going back to what we talked about before, that financial security that we're working for.
Thank you, Renee. Who's next? Who's next? Tara, Rashida?
Right. For me, since I have two jobs, like a West Indian, for the DJ piece, for sure, I've been just doing, even before the pandemic, I mean, nightlife for the most part is shut down. So it's a little bit of a challenge. But since then, my thing has pivoted more to like advocacy. A lot of people didn't get paid their final gigs. So calling out venues for that, negotiating with venues to make sure that folks get paid. At least one of the venues that I had to deal with got everyone paid. There were a number of people that didn't get paid. So that was good. And just really like making sure that when we talk about things resuming, that they don't go back to normal because it wasn't equitable before. So working now on basically like a plan for workers, nightlife workers. So not just DJs, but just all different types of workers in general in nightlife. And like, how can we create a more equitable model so they're not taken advantage of, and that they do get that the top earners in Forbes for DJs are not all white and maybe like one white woman. There's that. On the flip side, I also work in what's unfortunately a very largely white field. I work in urban planning. I have been very fortunate in that every job that I've had has been very diverse, but I also know it's part of that is being in New York City. The most recent position that I'm at now, they actually like wooed me away from my old job with the like, look, we are very diverse now, but we are really trying to have people of color in leadership. And that's why we want you here. So, me, like I realized I had to kind of take that leap, even though I was fine where I was. I was actually pretty happy where I was, because I realized it wasn't so much for myself, but it was for others. Because if, with me in a position of leadership, I'm able to bring in other folks. I know that there are people of color who work in urban planning. A bunch of us are getting together next week. We're gonna have a conference, and Jade provided the recipe. I got my card today. I'm so excited. So we're out there and we are organizing, especially now because, all of the things that we've been working around prior to the pandemic have really exposed themselves to be like gross inequalities in this country. It's just even more. And so I think people has really put the fire under people even more to really get together and organize, because now, we have people's attention. What else? You can't ignore this at this point, because you're sitting at home, and if you're not experiencing it yourself, you are seeing it play out amongst your neighbors on television. So that's really, I feel like the position I'm in now is really like to make sure that I bring others in, but then also making sure that I advocate for others for the same reasons like Renee, you mentioned, just for the fact like you want to make sure that people are taken care of, but then you also want to make sure that, that it benefits you ultimately as well. We have to mentor, we have to provide mentorship opportunities, we have to create new opportunities for people, even if we're not in the biggest position to do so, even if it's something small, it's a start. I also think that kind of like it contributes to like a larger idea of taking care of one another. I really always feel very comfortable around Black women, because I feel like for the most part I could kind of bet. I think it's like a social contract. You kind of have to bet that somebody's going to be a certain way. And of course, not everyone is. So sometimes I'm wrong. But I do like basically have that faith that like particularly Black women, I just have more of a faith that I will have a better interaction. And honestly, like 99% of the time, that's exactly what it is. So, but I think that also is part of doing that, or ensuring those odds, is putting it out there yourself. So that's what I hope to do, is just like expand upon that. I think all of us to a degree have been doing it throughout our lives, but definitely like now more than ever, it's just shown that we really need to do it more.
Rashida?
Okay, yeah. So I want to also touch and kind of expand on Renee's points, more specifically on like visibility when it comes to budgets, and just funding. And that was like a really big turning point for me in my career when I transitioned to a position of leadership and had more visibility to where certain funding was going, and comparatively speaking to the multicultural projects as opposed to general market. And for me, like in terms of accountability and just advocating and paying it forward, it was like a non-negotiable and immediate goal for me to just like empower, and support Black and Brown communities. A lot of people, which in culture and language, I'm right there. So I see the work that you're doing. Firsthand knowledge and experience can speak to it, understand its value, and be able to articulate that in these white spaces. Extremely disruptive. I am habitually the disruptive one in the company that's always screaming, making noise, challenging people, fighting. But I'm always able to back that up with a lot of fact-based selling. Like, I saw what you invested in XYZ. I have the visibility there. There would be no reason for us not to get equal funding and support for this. So that's been my big thing, especially this past year in the height of all of like the social and racist injustice and tension, and a lot of these brands pledging their commitments and their funding and $1 million and $1 billion here. I was the one that was like, hey guys, remember that $1 million we pledged? Where's it going? Who has the budget? Who's controlling it? Where are we allocating it? What are the real life like steps that we're taking to make sure that this is actually a thing and we're holding ourselves accountable? If I'm going to stand behind a portfolio and brands, I want to ensure that I'm able to double down on anything that they're committing to and making sure that we see it through. So for me, it's been a lot of just community-based work where a lot of times I'm very grateful for this. It is friends, it is families, they are people that I know and have a personal relationship with that I'm able to support in a professional context, all making sense, all being for the right reasons. And I will continue to do that. Again, just being super disruptive in white spaces, advocating, being able to do that storytelling internally. I have learned, not necessarily by choice, but because I had to learn how to be able to flip these stories, how to articulate it in ways that will make sense for them. And that's like one of my strongest points, is being able to take a very unique idea that may be translated to me in a certain context and language, and be able to take that back to my team and make it make sense for them, so that we're able to power these experiences, these safe spaces like tonight for conversation and change. And that is what I will continue to do until I leave corporate America, which will be soon. But until then, I love learning, making mistakes, growing, giving back, all through this corporate platform and lens. And that has really been my accountability piece, and something that I do sleep very well at night knowing that I'm able to add value, you know, in that sense, and take something that for me is neither here nor there. It's a job, but know how much it means to other people.
Thank you, Rashida. Who's next?
I'll go.
Okay.
Hi. So Rashida, 1000%. Like, I feel like, I mean, I know we don't work in same fields, but I'm definitely the disruptor when it comes to probably every position I've ever held in my life. And this, in my current role, I work for a social justice nonprofit focusing on restorative justice, the legal justice system, immigration justice. And this is probably the first job that I've ever had where I feel like I can enter that space fully myself. And it is respected, it is appreciated, it is not undermined. And so many of those, especially in the nonprofit field, it's very white. It's very female. There's a highly white women based, even especially when it comes to leadership in this organization. And I think the org that I'm working for in particular, we have a huge race, equity, and inclusion initiative, and it's not, I feel like those are, those golden words right now where everybody's trying to say that they're advocating for it, but I see it. And it is something, I have a leadership role there. And it is something that, at least in the space that I live in and go to work every day, I see opportunities to, like Rashida said, bring on more Black faces, share my resources. I work in events. all of the vendors that I use for my events are Black and brown faces. I love taking these white people's money and giving it to Black people. That is one of my favorite things to do. And so it is so exciting to kind of, even in respect to tonight with the food that we had, knowing that this is somebody that I can, you know, have host a dinner for my board, and all, like, any opportunity that I can to put more money and like, and kind of, I think Renee and Layla had kind of talked about it in respect to like underselling yourself. So many of these restaurants and caterers, and it's like, you eat this dry ass food, they try to sell you like $250 a plate. And it's like, why are you selling this for $150, girl? We're giving you $20,000. Yeah, you just feeding 10 people, but that's fine because we got it. And you know what I'm saying? So like making sure that, you know, I'm speaking that into them. And not only that, but like also putting that money in a pocket. Like at the end of the day, capitalism is how this country is run. And as much money I can give to my Black brothers and sisters, it's very important to me. So that's kind of the way that I do it in my corporate life. And I think personally, because unfortunately, I don't feel like I've seen enough women in my immediate circle show up as their complete self. That is my goal for 2020, is for me to be my wholest, most authentic, most honest, whether it's too much for you, it's not enough for you, it's loud, it's be so affirmed in who I am that when I walk into the world, little girls that look like me, women that look like me, feel like it is not a problem for me to be too much Yannick, because I got that my entire fucking life. And I internalized that so much where I was so stifled. Like it was painful for me to be in space with people because I knew that I was not being myself. And yes, you're comfortable, but where does that leave me? And I think that hopefully in the years to come, that'll be my testimony that I am finally my whole self, that I'm not fearful of being my whole self, and that I encourage you to be your whole self. And so definitely being in spaces like this, being able to share with women like you and learn from them is definitely something I want to keep doing. So when's the next one?
Nana, that's your TED Talk, baby. That's what
I love it.
About. I am enough. I need that to be your. I want to hear this from you.
Anyone else want to share?
Jade, I'll be there.
Go ahead, Yannick, and then Danielle.
So I think I'm on the same wave. I'm going to come back to my personal. I got to work on me and figuring that out because there are layers, and you know, I have to work on some stuff. So I'll let you know how I'm moving with the protection as it relates to me in my personal. In my professional life, I work for a very white media company, a very big media company. And I primarily was in the ad sales career path, and then I pivoted, but still working alongside ad sales. And as I was moving up I started entry level, and I was much better than a lot of my counterparts, but I was being overlooked because I didn't grasp that I needed to assimilate, so I didn't. I can code switch, I can speak just like you, but am I going to the same bars as you in the Lower East Side? Absolutely not, because you know what? I got to be in Queens. So my trip from Times Square is 2 hours, you know, because it's real, you know? And so a lot of times I was overlooked because they didn't know where to put me, even though my work was better than my counterparts. And so I didn't have any resources around me to help me get to that next level. There was literally no women, or even men for that matter, of color to help me get to the next level. And so actually it was a Jewish man who was the SVP of the next department that I wanted to move into, that saw me get rejected 4 times and was like, enough is enough. The next job that opens is yours. And he was like, you know, it's going to be hard for you because you're a Black woman. Like, he legit was like, you need a rabbi to be able to speak for you in rooms that your name is coming up and speak highly of you. And I just remember thinking, I don't want to have to depend on a rabbi. So when I organically maneuvered to the place where I was, where now I'm an executive, which is still daunting to me because I'm like, wait, what? I now see, because there's this diversity push, I now see a lot of new Black hires. However, no one's nurturing them. No one is educating them to how to maneuver this game, because it is a game. You know what I mean? Unless you're staying in Black media, it's a game. You need to be able to speak to these clients, because these clients don't give a shit where you're from. They're not trying to understand you. And so I made it my business to have monthly meetings with these young entry-level Black, I say kids because sometimes they act so damn young, but people, to help nurture them so that they're not just stuck like how I felt for so long. So that's one aspect. It had to shift a little bit once COVID came down. But I personally, because I like to be a gift unto others, literally it blesses me to be able to bless other people. I created, because we have ERG groups, but I feel like there's such a disconnect. I feel like, especially for the Black ERG group, it feels very performative. It just kind of feels like, okay, we're gonna give you this little thing so y'all can have your little parties and cocktails, but it's not really helping, you know, build real careers. So I created a WhatsApp group outside of my corporation where everyone could talk about everything that's going on, how they feel that the company's really handling things, how we can work together to make certain initiatives happen at the company. Because, you know, the company had the Black squares and they had the Tuesday off and all the things, but what are you doing for the people who work here? Especially when your highest rated shows on the net come from Black people. So you love our Black dollar, you love saying that you have the Black audience, but you're not serving Black people in any other way. And you love to talk about how diverse you are, but really the people who have the position of power that you consider your diverse leadership are all gay white males. So is it that diverse? Because they're still white males. So it's just all these layered things. So I created this space where we can really hash out and really talk and not feel like Big Brother's watching our outbox or our Skype or, you know, all the things. And through that, we've really bonded together from all different, because the beautiful thing about WhatsApp is like, nah, you could keep inviting more people to join the conversation. So even if it's a new hire, let them join, let them introduce which department you in, da, 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 da. So when we back in, sorry, I say a lot, da, 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 da. But when we get back into the office, I want you to understand that now there's a community here, you know, and we can really start to move the needle and really start to penetrate. And it's interesting to see who started as an entry level last year. Now they're moving up the ranks and they are exacting change, and they're educating their white counterparts about how important diversity really needs to happen in the teams, and how they should be nurtured, and how you speak to us and all that stuff. And so that's what I'm actively doing in my corporate thing. I will admittedly say it's harder for me to act and work on what protection means to me and protecting Black women or Black people in my personal, because again, I have to do your word accountability. I have to do some work and also make sure that I'm not coming in a defensive way, because I really want people to receive whatever I need to say, and so that we can work together to make sure that we all feel protected.
Great. Anybody else? Are we good?
I was just going real quick.
I like
didn't mean that, but I think the question about like how are we going to move forward to bring protection, right? Okay. I feel like it just it's the same as what Jasmine was saying earlier, those little things that we can do in our day-to-day, right? But like, I just think that it's gonna always have to be a disruption. As a person that lives as a whole, full ass, plus size, black ass disruption, I just feel like I'm constantly in the space of being like, wait a minute, like I'm mad question asking. Like I got a lot of questions about this. Like, white women, what the fuck? Like, I really want to talk to y'all about this because I don't understand. So I think that besides having the critiques around things or the feelings around things, we have to have some actions around things and do things that are different from what got us here. Like, if what got us here was the patriarchy, the supremacy, the hatred of blackness or black womanhood or whatever the case, like whatever it was, we're gonna have to do something different. So like, I'm just out here trying to figure out, for my personal space in this world and what I do, how can I facilitate conversations that are less about condemning the people, and more about understanding where they came from, and then what I can do to make it different. And that's something like I'm doing some life coaching stuff with AJ Johnson. Shout out to my homegirl, every Thursday on my Instagram. And it's honestly been so eye-opening for me because it's just simple ways that you can implement showing up differently in your life. And even to the point where last week we talked about being petty and like what that looks like and why does that show up. And she opened up my whole mind into like, okay, well, when we're in Pettyville, you always feel like the victim. So what is it that you can do? Or what is it that you did that made that person come at you like that? And I was like, well, shit, I got to do everything around here. But that's it's not the case. It's an understanding and the ability to show up differently to where they don't even have the space to bring you petty. They don't have the space to bring you, yo, what's up, ma? What's up with them? They don't have the space to bring none of that shit towards you. So I want to be able to, first of all, show up for myself differently to where I'm crossing my T's and dotting my I's, and that I don't leave space for that shit to feel unprotected, to feel unloved, to feel anything other than what I deserve. And that's just like those conversations. That's like really confronting some stuff. That's really being like, I would prefer you not talk to me like that. You know what I mean? It's not nasty. It's not anything other than the truth. So I'm just gonna really take charge in how I'm showing up, how I'm bringing myself into these spaces, and the conversations that I'm able to have to transform people's thoughts, hopefully at least the thoughts, because that's like, you know, that informs a lot of the way people move. So yeah, that's how I think I'm going to approach protection.
Where's your life coaching? I want to sign up for it.
And the funny thing is, it's me learning in front of everybody. So it ain't me coaching, but AJ is a life coach.
When you do.
But on Instagram, every Thursday, 3:00 Eastern.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Can I say something that I've been sort of doing that I want to try and do here is just really trying to show up for the particular women in my life in ways that they might need. And so I would like to present, if that's okay here, just we've talked about how we need to feel protected, and that can be a bit convoluted and that can be big, but what is something that like you need right now that Black women in this maybe circle, in this community, or maybe I don't know who I know that could maybe help you push something forward or help you create some ease in your life. Maybe like we can just drop that in the chat and we can all maybe try and be a solution to one another's problems right now. Like, I don't know what I could do to support each of you, but if it's, I don't know, you might be looking for an assistant or just anything that might be an ask that you have right now, since we're all here, I think that would be a great way to put this in action. Like, that's something that I've been trying to do, is just practice sort of love in action specifically for Black women in my life. Like, how can I how can I support you particularly? So maybe like we can drop ask in the chat, and then like we can just be in touch if anyone thinks of someone that might be able to solve that ask. That's a way that we can all just start protecting each other right now, maybe.
I'm definitely going to send a follow-up email and
Yes.
just give folks space to decide whether or not they want to share their contact and for their emails. And if they do, if they easily opt out, if they do, I'll definitely send email contacts and all that so we can keep the conversation going. That's definitely good.
Just send mine. You don't even need, just send mine.
Okay.
Good for me too.
Same.
Share
Down to
social, all
support
that.
any of y'all at anything you're doing. If there's any way I can like
Yeah.
just even be a cheerleader, I'm here for it.
Same.
Oh.
I know it's getting late, so anyone else have?
I want to say, because I'm a little bit slightly similar fields, but also quite different. I'm a two-hander a little bit. The way I've decided once the pandemic and the race war decided to pop off, I decided very fully that I'm an actor and a writer first and foremost, and then an energy healer on the other side. So coming at entertainment from the narrative is all that I've ever done. I was born into it, raised in it. My mom does it, my dad does it. Like I do it. That's what we do. So for me, it's always been, and I've been told more now, just spiritually, that the thing for me to share is in every single space where I'm creating story of how we are seen, how we are understood out in the world by everyone else. Like Yannick, you talked about your dad not knowing whether your dad was the norm and not having that reiterated out in the world for you. My purpose is to make sure that every single narrative creating space I walk into is doing that, no matter what, and doing it from, and it isn't an easy thing, because if you get into a creative space, if you're dealing with an actor, everyone is always like, oh, y'all just say the lines and blah, blah, blah. Nah, we actually breathe life into the human being that y'all see. So this life will be fully the life that we want seen, the cultural life of Black women that you want seen, the cultural life of Black beings that you want seen, or BIPOC beings that you want seen, or non-binary, LGBTQIA, all of that, the full culture, full whole bit of culture, that story gets told, not the convenient trauma stories or the convenient drama stories or the convenient this or the convenient that makes everybody feel like, oh, I learned something, or oh, I did that, or whatever. Nah, I want you to know what I eat. Like, I want you to know I just had a cassava and salted cod cake. I want you to know what it tastes like. I want you to know what it felt like when I tasted it. I want you to know what happened in my body when I tasted it. All of that is all of the kind of tiny, I'm like Danielle said, she keeps picking it out. I'm about the tiny things, the teeny, tiny things. And especially in telling story, because we're all affected by story every single day we take a breath, especially in this country. I'm making sure that all the stories that I'm a part of are told fully, are told in the most technicolor in every single possible way that they can be. And I'm all about a strong no. I always have been. I love those two letters and I say them with abandon when necessary to anybody, Jade knows, to anybody, to my director or my producer, and saying, nah, that's not it. That is not the story that you told me that you got me to sign this contract on and yes, I do have an entertainment lawyer, and yes, I asked for the most. That's not the contract I signed. That's not the story we said we were going to tell. You're trying to tell a whitewashed version of the story, which is cute, but that's not what I'm here for. So if I don't get to tell the story that I know how to tell, I'm out and you can find somebody else. And I feel like the more that we're actually doing that, at least from my small narrative place, the more we require, you change the storytelling, you change the story. So the more you require that storytelling be told in the fullest manner it can be, the more people actually get to know who we are as human beings. We get humanized, finally. So that's that is the thing that I will share for the rest of every bit of my breath. If I can share it, I've had pleasure and opportunity to share it, and I'm pushing to do it more and writing the hell out of it right now too. I'm just like as much as possible to get it up there and to get it to my friends who are white creators. I'm in white spaces like nah, and telling them, no, that's not the story you should be telling, boo. Yes, I know you have a new narrative piece with Netflix, and that's just gonna be shit. Ain't nobody gonna want to see it. Let me tell you how to fix it. I love Spike. Don't get Spike. Get somebody else. How about you get a woman to do it? And have I don't have a problem saying it, and it's not say the no is always, everybody wants to say yes and I'm like, yeah, no and let's do this, no and let's try that, because you're still not telling the story. The second hand of it is the energetic part, and I am here as a healer. I'm here for complete and total heart, soul, spiritual, full held coming in my house. Jade knows it, Antoinette knows it, coming in my house. Mary knows it now too, come into my house. And if you need support, if you need a hand on the small of your back, if you need a hand on right over your heart, if you need energy drawn off of you that you don't want anymore, if you need energy drawn out of your feet, if you want to dance, if you want to whatever, I'm here for it. I do it with my clients. I'm offering it to every woman in this room on me, no charge, no nothing. If you want a session with me, if you want to do it virtually, I do it virtually as well. If you're more comfortable COVID, or if you want to come to my house, it will be cleansed, it will be safe. You can come in, and it's a layer of respite. If you need a moment to get some Reiki on your bones, get some crystals up on your stuff, get some tarot done, some animal energy work, all of it. I'm here, aromatherapy, all of it. If you want it, I am more than happy to offer it if you just need to shuck off some shit.
Can I share one little one? Yes. Thank you for that, Jasmine. Yeah, that's dope. Might hit you up.
Come on.
I've been contemplating my contribution to protection, I realize that I'm doing it. And it's one thing I realize is that for me, protection equals security. And as Renee has hit on, and we all have hit on, we all know that it starts in self. And as we are the duality, the non-monolith, and all those things that we've talked about, I find myself pulled in so many different directions. I'm working on so many things because I'm out here trying to build, grind, build up, make sure like all these things are happening. And I have ADD, and I have a mind that literally goes in multiple different directions. And I find that a tool that serves me is accountability. And you talked about that. You mentioned that word, Antoinette, and it's a powerful word for me too, accountability, particularly accountability partnership. So I've been doing this thing amongst like a crew of women that I know are building things too. And I call it Discipline Date Night. And essentially we get together on a Zoom call or a Google Meet like this, and we do the work, like whatever the work is. Sometimes you just need to be around someone else that's working so that you can focus on working. Legit, like literally I was sorting through, like shredding papers with it, because I was like, if I can't focus on this, if you ain't on and so what I feel like is a contribution to designing our individual protection is showing up for ourselves and the discipline of doing that. Like it literally it requires a habit. And so I offer Discipline Date Night. Like right now it happens on Tuesday nights at 7, and we get on, and maybe it skips a Tuesday, but we get on, we set an intention for the 50-minute bracket, and you work on that thing, whether it's the proposal that you've been putting off or whatever it is. For folks that like thrive in co-working or group work type settings, it works extremely well. Sometimes we do a double session. I call it double date night, double discipline date night, where you do is 2 hours. And we show up for so many other things and other people and jobs. And we show up to these corporations and we give our hours, we give our time. And I'm like, I can absolutely dedicate 2 hours to focus on the thing that I know is going to help my trajectory. And so, yeah, Discipline Date Night is is the protection offering that I can bring.
Love that.
I love it.
Oh, yay. Come through, guys. I'll send an invite.
Yeah, send it.
I'll be there, girl, with my date
I
address.
need that. And I'm
Get work
I
done.
am so in. Yeah.
I'll talk about, guys. I did drop my email in the chat, but
I'm
Antoinette,
gonna send all the emails. Don't worry. I'm gonna send all of them.
Yeah, love it.
Okay. Anyone else before we have our closing? Jasmine, our healer, our resident healer, is going to lead us in an affirmation just to make sure we ride this energy out after a stressful week. We can go into the weekend riding this high that we've given each other. So, but I don't want to cut anyone off. I want to make sure there's space. So does anyone else have anything they would like to share? Okay.
This was so good. Thank you. It's been so good.
Thank you.
So good.
Thank y'all for being here.
Yeah, thank you. We know it's gone long, but I think that's not by accident. The energy in here is beautiful, and we're very, very grateful that each of you took your Friday night to spend it with us and have this conversation. We really appreciate that.
Yes, and I just want to I want to thank Angela again for the beautiful necklaces, the adornments, and Rashida, thank you so much for powering this and for seeing the value in it. You are so appreciated because the other brand we had was probably not going to care as much. So shout out to you.
Shout out to Chef too. She's not here, but I want to make sure that she gets her love. She put her love into this meal for each and every one of us. And so I want to make sure that I send all your sentiments to her, but I want the love to be shared with her as well.
And thank you, Jade, for the recipe sheets. I'm gonna flex like I just made them myself when people come over. Even though people won't be coming over because I'm a recluse, but like if I ever have anything, I'm making all of these, and I'm taking the name and everything. Like the whole thing is getting.
Listen, my intellectual property is your intellectual. That's my contribution to your protection, Queen.
That's me.
Lord.
Oh my God.
I just want to say, Jade and Antoinette, I felt safe tonight in this space. Thank you for protecting me.
So much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Your energy. It's you all's energy that's resonating for sure. But we love it. We love you all. Jasmine.
Yes.
Take us out in a beautiful affirmation.
Yes, I'm gonna open this crown bottle so Spirit has a drink.
Oh, me. Yes. Everybody pour Spirit a little shot.
Yes, Spirit. All right.
Libation.
Shot for Spirit.
All the African angels. Thank you.
Yes.
Hey, my Niger angels.
I hate you, Danielle. Ra-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta.
She really called the African angels. I'm sorry.
And the South American ones. But anyway, Jasmine, please.
We're going on a kiki. Okay. Everybody, just for me for a moment, if you close your eyes, put your feet wherever you are, just put your feet on the ground if you can. Feel the earth beneath you because it is always, always, always supporting you, wanting to give you everything that you need because you give it everything it needs. I call in my guides. I call in your guides. I call in Spirit, our ancestors from far, far beyond and from near. Our ancients, I call, ascended masters, I call. Any gods in any canon that you possibly need, I call. My God canon, I call in Sekhmet for your fire. I call in Isis for your magic. I call in Ayao for your lightning. I call in Oshun for your honeyed water. I call in, who else do I call in? I call in my mama. She ain't dead, but she here. I call in Legba for your opportunity, for your opening the gate to our spirit at all times. I call in our spirit, our future spirit, wherever they might be, whenever they might be. We ask you to hold us, We ask you to love us. We ask you to hear us, see us, respect us, know us. We ask for you to allow us to know ourselves as deeply and beautifully and completely as we possibly can. And to allow us to let everyone else that rocks this particular 3D plane to know us as well. We are all that we are. We humbly ask, honorably permit, respectfully demand, yes, demand, and graciously accept your help through unconditional love, through the power of our entire creative being. So be it. Ashe.
Y'all, I just asked her to do that. That was off the dome. Thank you, Jasmine. Oh, girl.
Come on.
Look. I'm high.
Mm.
Ooh, I love this church.
Cheers. Thank you so much, ladies.
Church of the Black women.
Cheers. Oh my
Cheers
goodness.
to Church of the Black woman.
Wow, yes.
Love that. We thank you all again. Thank you so much for sitting with us at this table. Thank you, Rashida, for providing libations that I think everybody's eyes got a little lower throughout the whole thing. And I know time. Lower. And I'm very, very grateful for each and everything that you contributed and offered and brought to the conversation. It was so necessary, especially this week. I think this was divine timing.
Amen.
Yeah.
Connect with each and every one of you. We're gonna have this edited, and we will email it to you. So you're welcome to share it on your platform with the proper hashtags and all of that. And we're gonna continue the conversation. So we're gonna have more of these, and we will invite you all to come. Hopefully, one day we'll be able to look at each other in each other's faces and smell each other's breath and whatnot.
Right.
I love that. We're just gonna pretend that we can. So, you got anything to say before we close out?
No, I'm just so grateful to all of you. Really, this was more for me than you could ever imagine. Really.
Thank you, friend.
Yeah. Y'all going about your night. I'm about to go smoke.
Hey, really quickly, Renee, I ran up on you at Natty Garden Shop after watching She Did That, and I was like, you were, and I had a mask on. You were like, okay, girl. I was like, you did the She Got It movie. I love you. And you were like, okay.
Oh my gosh, girl! I thought you were like a little girl. You like
I was having such a fangirl moment because I was like, oh my god, that's the woman. Oh my god.
Oh, thank you. I would have never, girl. These masks. I would have never made the connection, but
it happened. It was just so lovely to like see you in person after having watched that. I'm like, look at, she's right there. Anyway, so you're a goddess.
We're neighbors. We're neighbors.
Yeah.
I'll send emails and contact information to everyone. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
So grateful.
Bye.
Bye.